All right, you guys. So we have two more chapters before we finish book one. All right. So we have The Old Man and then Rednecks and Scalawags. And then I'm going to have to stop for a while because I need to go charge my phone again. Okay. Happy St. Patrick's Day. An old man. We ate and started walking, going north all the time. I watched the ground getting blacker and more damp. With the sun straight up, we came to the bayou that I know we had been headed toward for so long. So first of all, I just want to remind you, in addition to there being like no takeout places to eat, there's no stores like 24-hour stores like Cumberland Farms or something, and the roads are not paved. None of that has been invented yet. Okay, so when she's noticing that the dirt is getting darker and damp, it lets her know that they're getting closer to water. Okay. All right. When the sun straight up came, with the sun straight up, we came to the bayou that I knowed we had been headed toward for so long. Now I had to carry Ned and the bundle on my head, Ned on my hip. The water came up to my knees most of the time, and sometimes it even got as high as my waist. How I made it over, only the Lord knows. But I made it and found a good place to sit down and rest. By the time I had rested, my dress had dried out and we started walking again. We came in another thicket where they had plenty fighting. We could see how cannonballs had knocked limbs off bark trees. It had a mound of dirt there about half the size of my gallery where they had buried many soldiers. They had put a cross at one end of the grave with a cap stuck on the cross. This part's important. The weather had changed the color of the cap so much you couldn't tell if it belonged to a Yankee or a Seckish. And so that's really important. Okay? So the reason why it's important is because we were all Americans before the Civil War. And the message that we're getting here is we're all Americans again. And so there's no more Confederate and Union soldiers. There's no more Yankees and Seckish. The fact that anyone is buried in that grave and the fact that the cap has worn out, like the cap, like what they wear, that it's worn out tells us it doesn't matter anymore who the people are that are buried. They were Americans. That's what it means. We sat there and rested a while, and I told Ned not to be scared. He didn't look scared, so I reckoned I was saying it for my own good. After a while, we got up and went on. We came out of the swamps, and now as far as I could see, I saw nothing but briars stretched out in front of me. I didn't have time to stand there thinking which way to go. Not with the sun coming down like that. I'm on page 50. I told Ned we was turning left. Not a tree in front of us, nowhere. If we wanted shade at all, we had to go back in the swamps or try to find a cool spot against the briars. One was just as bad as the other, so we kept on walking. When we came to the end of the briars, it must have took us about an hour to get there. We turned back now. We turned back right. Now I could see a little gray house way, way across the field. The field had nothing green, just weeds and dry corn stalks that could have been there even before the war. We started toward the little house. We wasn't giving up, far, far from giving up. But I know we had to take some chances. We needed water, and I had to find out if we was going the right way. Hold on. From way across the field, I could see smoke coming out of the chimney, which is chimney. When I came up to the yard, I saw the old white man standing on the gallery with the dog. The old man was short and fat, with snow-white hair just round the sides and the back of his head. Not a speck on top. His face was red, not kind, but not mean either. "This how I go to Ohio?" I asked him. "That way," he said, pointing east. "We ain't going that way. We're going this way," I said, pointing north. "No, it's east," he said. "We going north," I said. "We ain't going east." "You'll never get to Ohio that way," he said. "Iowa maybe, but never Ohio. Ohio is east of Louisiana." "You trying to tell me I'm still in Louisiana?" "Yep, still Louisiana," he said. A lot more of it will be lasagna before you're through. You and that boy out there hungry?" "Yes, sir," I said. "Come in and eat," the old man said. "I have something ready for you all." We went in, and he made us sit down on a bench by the fire half. It was nothing but a one-room cabin. He had a table in there, a bench that he made himself, a chair he had made. He had a cot by the window. So a cot is like something you maybe use when you go camping, so you don't have to lay on the ground. Okay, so that's what a cot is. He had things on the wall, pots, jugs, pans, things like that. He had a big map on the wall at the head of his bed. He gave us some greens and cornbread and told us to eat. He didn't give us a spoon. We had to eat with our hands. "Ohio is east," he said again. "We've been going the wrong way all this time," I asked. "I wouldn't say wrong. I wouldn't say exactly right either," he said. He got a pair of glasses off the mantelpiece and went to the map. I could see him moving his finger over the map and mumbling to himself. "Yep, I was right," he said. "Ohio 38, 41 lat, 80, 84 longe. Iowa, let's see. Where are you at there, Iowa? Here you is, you little rascal. Trying to hide from me, and I ain't done you nothing, huh? Iowa 40, 44 lat, 90, 96 longe. Yep, that's where Ohio is at. All right. Well, I'm standing there. I might as well look up Old Illy. Where is that?" So he's saying Illinois. "Where are you at, fella?" Just what I expected. 36, 43 lat, 88, 92 launch. "Yep, that's it. All right. Now, where are you headed?" "You headed straight for 42 lat. He turned and looked over the rim of his glasses at me. "You don't want to go 42 lat, do you?" So he's looking at the map, and if you remember, maps have lines that go across and that go up and down. So he's given the, like when you plot in math, right? The longitude and latitude. So he's given all the numbers. So Ohio is 38, 41 latitude, 80 to 84 longitude. So it's like in that spot, okay? Ned was almost through eating, but I hardly touched my food. All of a sudden, it came to me how wrong I had been for not listening to people. Very important. That's important because she's learning here, right? You should have listened to all those other people. Everybody from Unkism to the hunter had told me I was wrong. I wouldn't listen to none of them. I felt like crying, but I asked myself what would happen to Ned. He was holding up only because I was holding up. If I broke down, he had nobody to guide him. No, I wasn't going to cry. I was going to be strong. I looked at the old man standing at the map. How did I know he was telling me the truth? How did I know he wasn't just another old seckish trying to get me wool gathered? So wool gathered is an old Southern phrase meaning confused. What was all this Latin longe stuff he was talking about? How could Ohio be east when the Yankees came from the north? I went on and ate, but I was keeping my eyes on him. As soon as I finished eating, I saw Ned was getting out of there. I'm so sorry. As soon as I finished eating, me and Ned was getting out of there, and we was heading north, just like we'd started. "Come on," he said. I went to the map with my pan of food. "Look here," he said, tapping the map. "Now, this is where you at now." I didn't see nothing but a bunch of odd colors, some crooked lines, and some writing. "That's Louisiana," he said. "This thing running here, that's what they call Mississippi River, because it ain't running on the paper, but that's how people say it. Say it's running north and south." "I ain't going no south," I said. I had a mouthful of cornbread, and a piece of it shot out of my mouth and on the map. The old man stopped talking a while, but he didn't look at me. He looked at the crumb. Just kept looking at it like it was a bug, and it might crawl off if he turned his head. When it didn't move, he plucked it to the floor. "This one here, that's what they call the Red River," he said. "All this other stuff, river and roads. Up here are AR, all this other spelling, that's Arkansas. Up here, that's Missouri, spelled something like Mississippi, but not quite. Up here, that's Iowa, 40, 42 latitude, 90, 96 longitude. That's where you headed if you keep going north. Now, let's go back here and start all over. Mississippi River, Red River, all the other rivers and roads. Throw a few bios in there too, the bigger ones. All right, now you going east to Ohio. You have to go through Mississippi first. I hurried up and swallowed my food I had in my mouth. I ain't going through no buddy Mississippi, I said. No, he said. He looked at me over the rim of his glasses. I looked straight back at him. He wasn't mad. He wasn't the kind who got mad quick. He believed in taking everything cool and slow. All right. Say you don't want to go through Mississippi, he said, looking at the map again. Say you want to make it hard on yourself and you want to go through Arkansas. Now he looked at me over the rim of his glasses. Maybe I didn't want to go through Arkansas either, because that's where you're going to have to go, unless, of course, you planning on jumping over Mississippi, he said. And I think that's a big order for somebody smart as you. He waited for me to say something. I didn't. He looked at his map again. All right, we in Arkansas now. Since Arkansas is in North Louisiana, you're going to have to buck back east after you leave Arkansas. That's the way. And you end up in Tennessee. That's right here. All right, now you're in Tennessee. You go till you hit Nashville. You done past Memphis, way back here near Arkansas. From Nashville, you swing back north again, and you ought to find a good road to Louisville. That's in Kentucky. From Louisville, you get to Cincinnati, and you go in Ohio, right here. Tapping on the map. Now, who are you going to look up in Ohio? Mr. Brown, a Yankee soldier. Mr. Brown, a Yankee soldier, he said, yes. There ought to be a few Browns in Cincinnati. Common enough name. But if he's not in Cincinnati, he might be in Cleveland. That's right here. He kept on looking at the map. I looked at the map too. I gotta go through all them places and I'm still in Louisiana. Correct, he said. How I know you tell me the truth, I said. How I know you ain't a suckish. The old man looked at me a long time before he said anything. His face wasn't kind, but it wasn't mean either. I might be a suckish, he said. Then I might be a friend of your race. Or maybe just an old man who's nothing. Or maybe an old man who's very wise. Maybe an old man who cries at night. Or an old man who might kill himself tomorrow. Maybe an old man who must go on living just to give 2 more children a pan of meatless greens and cornbread. Maybe an old man who must warm another man at his fire, be black or white. I can be anything now, can't I? How long going to take me to get there? I asked him. Where? He said. Ohio. Still going? That's where I started for, I said. Well, now let me see, he said. He rubbed his chin and looked at me. He was so short. I was nearly as tall as he was. And you can see I'm no giant. You weigh about what? He asked. 70, 75 pounds? Yeah, I'll say 75. Give you a couple. That bundle, I'll say about 10. Let's say you cover 5 miles a day, good weather and good road permitting. But the weather ain't going to always be good. It might start raining any time and rain from now on. Bad weather, you'll cover only half the distance. That means 2.5 miles instead of 5. But weather ain't all you got to worry about. You got rattlesnakes, copperheads, water moccasins. They got to be reckoned with too. I think those are all kinds of snakes. That means you got to bypass all bayous and all weedy places. And in order to do that, you're going to have to buck back south or go west, because if you go east, you're going to be headed straight for Mississippi. So that'll knock that other half mile off, leaving you with just 2 per day. All right, that take care of snakes and bad weather, but we have to consider at least 1 bad dog every other day. Now, since you and that boy will have to climb a tree and stay up there till somebody pull that dog away, or till he just give up on you and wander off, that'll rob you of another half mile. All right, that took care of the bad dog. Next come old veterans from the Second Army, still hating for what happened. And since they can't take it out on the Yankees, want nothing better than to get 2 little and tie them on a log full of red ants. So you duck around them and you lose another half a mile, leaving you with just 1 mile a day. That boy over there, sooner or later, We'll eat some green berries or some green simmons, meaning persimmons. And what they're going to do to his bowels will cause you to lose another half a mile, leaving you with just a half. Well, you done made it to Arkansas, but the people in Arkansas ain't heard the war is over. And soon as you and that boy land there, they'll capture you and sell you to somebody in the hills. So now we forget traveling for a few years. So he's like, sort of giving her case scenarios of what's going to happen. All right. So none of this is happening. This is like, so what if this happens? So he says, so you forget traveling for a few years, say 5 or 6, before they're fully convinced Lee done surrendered and back at West Point teaching more guerrilla tragedy, meaning Lee, like the general of the army. Let's get back to you and the boy. You all free again. You bigger and stronger, and you can go 10 miles a day now instead of 5. But you got another worry now. Men, black and white. The white one to treat you like he done treated you in your race ever since he brought you here in chains. The black one treat you not much better. So you settle down with the black one. No, not to protect you from the white man. If the white man wanted you, he'll take you from the black man, even if he had to kill him to do so. You settle with one black man to protect you from another black man who might treat you even worse. But this one ain't no bargain either. He beats you from sunup to sundown, not because he wants to, mind you, but because he has to. Because, you see, he's been so brutalized himself, he don't know better. But one day the boy there can't take your suffering no more, and while the man is sleeping, the boy sneaks in and busts him in the head with a stick. Y'all start again, now y'all running. Y'all find your way to Tennessee, where you're all captured again. No, not by the law you've been running from. You're captured by good citizens of Tennessee. These here good people of Tennessee, even more backward than them good people you left in Arkansas. These still speak in Gaelic, so that's the language that the Irish speak. Since you ain't got no Gaelic papers in this country, it's going to take them 10 more years to learn Lee done quit and probably even dead now. Some kind of way you and the boy get away and start asking about Ohio. But since both of you all speak in Gaelic now, the people don't know what in the world you're talking about. So they point towards Memphis just to get rid of you. In Memphis, you meet another who you ask the way. He don't understand Gaelic either, but he's one of them slickning who feels that any speaking Gaelic ought to be took for all his worth. So he tells you and the boy to wait a minute and he'll take you where you want to go. Y'all wait a minute, then y'all wait an hour, then a day, and then a year and 5 years till that boy there got to bust this one in the head like he did the other one. Now, you and the boy steal a horse and a buggy and head out for Nashville. Nashville is straight shoot into Ohio. But in Nashville, something else happens. Somebody there cracks the boy in the head. Since y'all have been friends all these years, you feel you ought to stay near his grave a year or 2 out of respect. But you finally get into Kentucky. In Kentucky, you cook for white folks. You feed and nurse white children till you get enough money saved or till you fool another to take you to Ohio. You know how to pick a man now, and you pick a stupid one. Soon as you get there, you drop him. You don't want nothing more to do with men ever in your life. Well, you land in Cincinnati, and you start asking for brown. But you get 100 browns in Cincinnati. Some white browns, some black browns, even some brown browns. You go from brown to brown, but you never find the right brown. It takes you another couple years before you realize brown ain't here, so you head out for Cleveland. Cleveland has twice as many browns. And the only white brown people can remember that even went to Louisiana to fight the war died of whiskey 10 years ago. They don't think he was the same person you was looking for because this brown wasn't kind to nobody. He was coarse and vulgar. He was a cussed man. God and nature every day of his life. All right. Now, how long are you going to take us to get there? I asked him. I see you're still going. That's where we started for. The old man looked at me and shook his head. The boy will never make it, he said. I think it'll take you about 30 years, give or take a couple. Well, we better head out, she said. I said, thank you very much. I wonder if I couldn't bother you for a bottle of water. Ned was sound asleep, so I had to shake him to wake him up. I told him to get the flint and iron together. The old man give me a jug of water, and we left him standing on the gallery. I can tell you all the things we went through that week, but they don't matter, because they wasn't no different from the things we went through them first 3 or 4 days. We stuck to the bushes most of the time. If we saw people, we hid till they passed us. One day, we had to run a dog back that was trying to follow us because we were scared the people might come looking for him. Another time, I watched a house about an hour before I went and asked them for water. The people cussed us out at first, then they broke down and gave us water. One day, when the sun was straight up, we saw a man on a wagon. I went out in the road and waved him down and asked him where he was. He told me the parish. I asked him if that meant I was still in Louisiana. He said, close as he could speculate, I was right in the middle of Louisiana. I asked him could we ride with him. He said we could, if we was going the same way he was. But since it didn't look like we was, then he had to say no. I had already thrown my bundle on the wagon. Now I was helping Ned up on the wheel. Y'all look beat, the man said. His name was Job. The people told us later. We was going to Ohio, I said. My little friend got tired. You look it, Job said. And that's the end of the chapter. So in this chapter, the old man, basically, in a nutshell, he's just saying to Jane, like, you're never going to get there, right? Like, stop trying. And she just won't take no for an answer. So he gives her all these scenarios, and he's like, it's going to take you 30 years to get there because you're going to marry all these men and they're going to mistreat you. And, he's really trying to, like, just show her, like, life isn't as wonderful as you think it's going to be. And so she doesn't really get anywhere. And so our next chapter is Rednecks and Scalawags. And we're going to find out if Jane gets to Louisiana.